Camberhouse. Give me my respect.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Camberhouse Podcast. Today is a big one. Buckle in, motorsport fans, because we got a real treat for y'all today. The man, the myth, the legend, lovingly known as Logic, Damien Yearwood, is joining us. Damien was born and raised in Barbados. He went to school at Willie Cumberbatch Primary, and from there he went to Coleridge and Parry Secondary, where he actually was kicked out after fourth form for repeating. And then from there, Damien found himself at skills training and then went into SJPP, or Samual Jackman Polytechnic, to pursue mechanical engineering. From there, he managed to work alongside some local motorsport legends like Phil Moe and Judd at Pro Auto Works. Mm-hmm. And then in 2005, he left Barbados to go and work at Morgan Sport as a mechanic. For those of you who don't know, Morgan Sport is famously runs some pretty big names in motorsport, the likes of Higgins and Ostberg.
Two big names.
Two very big names. So after that, in 2010, Damien came back home and found himself working amongst the local motorsport community again. Then he started up his own motorsport consulting business. I know this is a long intro, forgive me, but this all will make sense once I get to the end. So he started up his own motorsport consulting business, and then from there, he ran that for 4 years, and then from there, he jumped over to Norway and started working with Tesla, which is going to be an interesting part of the conversation. And also found himself dabbling in some Swedish Touring Car over there. And then with Flash Engineering, I should have mentioned. And then in 2016...
This is the big one.
This is the big one. Logic joined Hyundai Motorsport. And for those of you who don't know, Hyundai Motorsport means he joined the WRC team and worked with them for 6 years, traveling all over the world with the team. And now, I think just for a couple months, he's left Hyundai Motorsport and now works at Extra in the UK. And in his words, building awesome shit. So, with what could probably be described as the longest intro ever, I apologize for that, guys, but I think it's important that y'all understand the background of Damien, which of course we're going to dive into. But with all that behind us, ladies and gentlemen, Damien Yearwood, aka Logic. Dude, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Logic.
Thank you for having me, man.
Good, man.
It's a privilege.
Let me just, one sec, sorry. You're going to kill me.
That is hilarious.
I know.
All right, so let's take it to the beginning, back to the beginning, Logic. How, obviously, Jeremy mentioned your schooling days. Were you always mechanically inclined to? Was it something that you always wanted to be involved in as a young child growing up in Barbados? Talk me through your childhood a little bit and where the passion for either motorsport or mechanical engineering came from.
I would say it started quite young. I always loved cars, and I always used to get cars for Christmas. Then I grew up in a Pine in Parkinson Field, and just down a couple of houses there was a guy with a Vauxhall Viva, a guy called Watson, and it was two brothers that had these Vauxhall Vivas, and sometimes they would go on the pasture at the back and start doing donuts and stuff, and that was cool to me. Mm-hmm. Then a couple doors down from him, there was a guy called Louis that had a Mark II Escort. Two-door Mark II Escort. This thing sounded amazing. And I never saw it drive, but on weekends he would come outside, he would rev it a couple times, and it would just be outside peeping like... I actually blame him for my love of Mark II Escort. So
yeah, everybody loves a Mark II Escort.
For sure.
Oh, yeah.
So then you were kind of sucked into the car world from pretty early on, and I'm guessing as you kind of got older, the passion continued to grow and develop. Like when you were going through secondary school and stuff, you still had very much like a passion for cars and knew that was something you wanted to be involved in, or not? Really?
Yeah, because I had moved to Huddersfield Turning when I was about 10 years old or something like that, and there was a guy called Parry on the corner of the tire guy. He had a Mini. Right, exactly. He's still there. And he had a Mini back in the day. And then he had this Nissan March that we put like a 1.5 Sunny engine in it with a cam and, raise the compression. I'm still a kid running around this guy, right?
Yeah.
And then just up the road in Jackman's, it was a whole Datsun community. Like, if you didn't have it, you had guys like Desert and Vincent and Tony and them boys. If it wasn't like a 120Y, it was some form of Nissan Datsun or some form of Nissan.
Mhm.
So I think then it really kind of bit me, like, and we would start going to races and rallies, and acceleration tests back in the days was like the not affordable, but one of the ways that you can get into motorsport, and it was one or two every year, and we used to go to all of them, and rallies and stuff. I remember as a kid watching Roger Ski in that 205, Malalu in the Swift, in the black Swift. There was a guy that drove a Zephyrins Capri or something like that, like a Ford Maverick, I think. So I kind of came into it kind of young, and it was all about motorsport. It was all about cars for me, to be fair. It was like cars was like the number one thing that I woke up to every morning,
So in a way, when you kind of got kicked out of school at fourth form and ended up going to skills training and eventually to SJPP, I guess in a way that was a blessing in disguise, setting you up for what will become a career filled in surrounded by motorsport.
Yeah, I mean, at that point in time, I remember my mother telling me, "You got to get a job, right? You can't stay here and not work." So, and I always wanted to be. At that point in time, obviously, you want to be a mechanic, and I was, dare I say, a little bit more advanced than the people in the class, because they were doing it because they liked it. I was doing it because I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a little bit advanced in both classes. I kind of knew, like the basics already. I just read a lot, and this was like when the internet was kind of accessible for everybody in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
So I would be up very late at night, reading articles about certain things, or if I didn't understand something, try to get better in it, So try to keep ahead of the curve, basically.
And did you know that you wanted to, was your goal always to get into motorsport, like specifically, or did you have ambitions initially to just, something else outside of motorsport, but still related to cars, whether it be work with a manufacturer, like how you did with Tesla, or was motorsport always a goal?
Yeah, motorsport was always the goal, because I remember as a kid, we used to watch Gillette Road Sports. And that was our window to international motorsports as kids, or in that age group. And there was a little 5-minute segment where they just did motorsports. So you see all these guys working on rallies and F1 and Dakar and stuff, and you were like, that's cool. I want to get involved in something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was always in the back of my mind, yeah, I want to work on race cars, but I never knew how to get there. That was the hardest bit. And I did my best to try to align myself with a lot of people that could either teach me or put me in a position to do what I wanted to do, which was motorsport in the end game.
So how did you get, how did you get to it then? So I know obviously you spent some time with Philmo and Brett. Like, how did you, knowing that was your goal, and you said, I'm sure there are lots of kids across Barbados, boys, girls, whoever, that want to be involved in motorsport, don't know how. So you were in that position. How did you manage to get connected with Phil or Brett or whoever it was to start that process?
Well, when I came out of skills training, there was a guy called Ricky. Still to this day, he has a couple. He had a Mark II S car as well too, so you can see where this is going. And he was a mechanic at Downs Auto Body in the turning. So whenever I had a free time, I would just go over there and see what he's working on and see what he's doing. And I think he made the introduction to me and Phil. And Phil and James had just started Premier Auto at that point in time, which was like bringing in all the reconditioned cars and stuff like that. And it was at his dad's house. And obviously, his dad builds a lot of race engines. And then, so it just, that kind of gave me the catalyst to say, well, hang on, I could do this. you know, because yeah, obviously you start with washing up parts with Mr. Mo. You
Yeah.
don't start touching an engine, and if they're not washed properly, you got to do it 3 or 4 times, and it teaches you a lot. It teaches you the basics.
Yeah.
But then on weekends, so out where I used to live in Holliswood Turning, everybody used to hang by everybody's house, so you could get Clyde Best, Bunks, and all them boys. They would come over and just hang out. And Plucky used to hang out there. And Plucky at that point in time used to work for Paul Bourne. So I just used to go and hang out with Plucky and Paul and the guys and Steve and Timmy and Harold and them boys who was working at Paul Bourne. And I ended up like, I remember one of the first things I did, I gave him a Gatorade. And I was really freaking proud of that. And then like one of my biggest, I think the thing that really made me caught the bug, there was a rally that we did in Colleton, I think. It was a gravel rally. And Paul had destroyed the front of this car. And at this point in time, it was just there hanging around, just, giving people a tire or whatever. And ended up working on the car.
Mhm.
And I was like, okay, this is the start of something.
And this was the first time that you were touching a rally car, so to speak.
Well, I would hang around the workshop on Fridays. We would go and hang around, and you would see all the stuff, and you would see people coming in for the rallies and stuff. But then, after Brett took over, I think Brett had asked me if I want to work, and it was like, yeah, hell yeah, I want to work there.
Right place.
And I think that's where it took off, because I learned so much from Brett. I would say I would say that Brett is probably the reason why I'm pushed this far. Because he instilled a lot of knowledge knowledge of the basics.
Yeah.
All right. But the second part of it is basically you having to push yourself a little bit further.
Mm-hmm.
And you actually taking initiative to do something better with yourself instead of just staying where you were.
How long were you working with Brett?
3 years.
3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I guess after you transition from Brett to this is when you went overseas at this point?
No, I think I went to work at Galaxy Motors after that for a very short period of time. I think Galaxy Motors, it was a good place to work, really good guys there. But it showed me I'm not really cut out for working on normal cars.
Right.
Because it was frustrating because I got to move this to get to that and that. And, and then there's the whole politics behind you can't do this because of this and stuff like that. Whereas on a race team, you get it done. It's fixed. Yeah. That's it.
Okay.
And then after Galaxy Motors, I think I was working with a guy called Mohammed doing valets. Doing Strathclyde.
You've done it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. Looking back at it, yeah, I've been around. And then I think I remember the first time I went to the UK, I stayed with my cousin, and I was just so amazed. I may have traveled to the States before in other countries and whatnot, but I don't know what it was about the UK that kind of stuck out.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, yeah, I need to try to come back. And is networking. Networking is a very big thing in this field as well, too. In any field. Yeah. So you meet some engineers that came over for the rally, and you keep in contact with them and what's not. And I mean, I think one of the engineers that pushed me as well too is a guy called Brian Niels. He used to work at ProDrive back in the day, and Brian always used to tell me I'm wasting my talent here in Barbados, because I would just be the guy that ran a rally car. You would be getting like information late, and that you wouldn't be on the crest of the wave. And if you want to be on the crest of the wave, you need to leave.
Yeah.
And so I ended up leaving. It was the hardest 4 or 5 years of my life, but I got where I am now. So
it was hard. You mean, so when you left Barbados, so how did you make the connection and get to Morgan?
Brian, actually.
Okay.
So I was in the UK, I think, 2005. And Brian, I was bugging Brian, like, dude, you know anybody that, want a mechanic or whatever? And I went, he told me, yeah, we got a guy here in Banbury 5 minutes from ProDrive that needs a mechanic. So I was like, yeah, give me the number. So I called him, and Phil said, yeah, could you get here tomorrow? I said, yeah. So I drove up to Banbury. First time driving on a highway, right? Mate, it was the scariest 2 hours of my life. Yeah, so I ended up getting there, and it was me and another friend of mine named Sheldon, and we got up there. I went for the interview, and I remember Phil saying, "All right, so you brought clothes with you now to work?" I was like, "Does this mean I got the job?" He must have been like, "Oh yeah, obviously." So I ended up going back home, getting clothes, and coming back, and it was so surreal because when you walk into the workshop, you're seeing like the 2 Stobart Subarus that they ran for Mark Higgins and I think it's Guy Wilts, I think. I can't remember the second driver. And the Subaru that they used to run for Anton Allen in the Swedish and the Finnish and the Russian championship.
Oh.
And then like even like the mechanics and stuff. So we used to call this guy Taspa. Beard, mustache. It was like Finnish guy. It was like whatever. He was one of the engineers. And I never took anything of I never thought anything of it. And one day we were going to West Cork. It's actually a funny story. Phil Morgan still laughs at me to this day because of it. In fact, everybody on that team still laughs at me to this day.
Go on.
So we had to catch the ferry from Holyhead. So we drove to Wales. We overnighted in a hotel in Wrexham.
Mm-hmm.
So it was this guy we call him JD. And I don't know anybody's name. This is like my third or fourth week in the company. We doing the West Cork Rally. So we get to the hotel and he said, yes, I have a reservation for Justin Dale. So I was like Justin Dale, as in Peugeot Justin Dale? And he's like, yeah. I was like, no, you gotta be kidding me. And that night, right, I Googled that man's name about 4 times, right? And I said, this can't be the guy that I just drove 4 hours to Wales, not knowing that he's Justin Dale. And then he said, you know Taspa? I was like, yeah, that's Tapia Laukkanen. I was like, no way. This is not real. This. So
you've been working with these guys for 3 weeks,
and I didn't know none of these guys that there were, like people that I would watch tapes of like over and over and over.
That's good. I love it.
So and then I actually. It was so stupid of me because I remember all that week asking them, do I need my passport to get into Ireland? No, they're thinking like a Brit. They're not thinking like somebody that's not from UK.
Yeah.
So we got over on the ferry and we driving in the truck. And immigration in Ireland, where are you from? UK. And me like an idiot said, Barbados. And he was like, where's your passport? I was like,
at home.
Well, it's in Reading. I was like, and the guy was like, well, you got to go back and get it. I was like, this is not like Barbados. I could just pop home and go get my passport, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I missed that rally. And to this day, right? That was actually one of my first European rallies. And to this day, Phil Morgan, Dan Powers, Justin Dale, all those boys would not let me live that down. Never ever.
That's a great story.
So when you were there, like, did you you were at Morgan for 4 years?
No, I was at Morgan very short, because I started in, I think, November, and by February I came back home for just a little holiday, and he ended up closing the company because of obviously people not paying and what's not. So, but so then I had to start over again, obviously. So that's when me and Roger met up, and I ended up looking after his cars for like 3 years.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm running his Subaru.
Well, I started with the Escort.
The Escort.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the S9, and then the S12.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Which one was your favorite to work on?
Escort.
Yeah.
Why?
That thing that you could run over almost anything with that car, and the alignment would not change. Right? Like it was simple. Granted, everything was built like it was built to run over a tank, but it was one of my favorite cars because of its simplicity as well too.
Okay.
Right.
Whereas the Subarus then got a bit more complicated.
No, it really got complicated with the S12. I was accustomed to the S9 because we ran two of them at Morgan.
Right.
Right.
But the 12 was a different. That was a different breed of animal. That was just complicated.
Mm-hmm. Well, we can dive into Subarus to those more, but then eventually, when you found yourself looking to like leave Barbados again, what sparked that?
Seeing people that I know are actually on TV doing stuff.
Right.
And there was this guy called Andy. We call him Arms. Andy was I think he was the leader of Skoda Motorsport UK. So every time that I look at a video with them doing the IRC, it was the IRC back in them days. He's on there talking to Mickelson, and I was like, I've worked in the workshop with this dude.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
I wasn't jealous. I wasn't jealous. I was like, damn, like I kind of missed an opportunity. I want to, to do this. And that pushed me and inspired me to get back out there and do it. Like I said, it wasn't easy, but I had to do it.
So when you first started doing that, I mean, what were you doing? Because you did it that's what you did for 4 years before then going to Tesla, yeah?
Yeah, I had my own consulting business because at that point in time, you network so much. You have so many people that they know what you're capable of doing. So they were like, would you come to this rally with me or whatever.
Right.
So I was like, hang on, I could tap into this market and see what could happen. So yeah, I did a lot of European rallies, some in the US as well too, with a couple guys as well.
So these would be with teams or privateers?
Some mostly privateers.
Okay, and all running WRC cars?
No, some were Group N, some were Super 2000. Another thing about this business, you can't pigeonhole yourself or limit yourself to doing certain things. It's wise to know something about everything.
Mm-hmm. In other words, work on lots of different cars.
Yeah, in all fairness, a car is just four wheels and an engine and a gearbox, right? The philosophy is still the same, but there's different ways of executing that philosophy. So once you keep your head on you're smart, and you observe, okay, well, this is how this works or whatever, because like classic example, there's some cars that to change the drive shaft, all you need to do is pop the bottom arm off and do the drive shaft and take it out. Whereas there's some cars, you just undo a clip and the drive shaft slides up. So,
right, and that's just through experience of working on many different cars. I mean, are you still researching through that time? I mean, I guess you're close to be and educate.
Yeah, I'm speaking to people who did it before me. Speaking to people who are way more experienced than me and listening to them and understanding what it takes to get where they are at this point in time. I think that was one of the best things that you could do, just shut up and listen.
Right, and I think that's good.
That's good advice.
Good advice for anybody that wants to get into this is to listen. You know how some people can be when they relatively stubborn in their ideas, but best to listen to the people that have done this before and learn from them.
It's not even only about motorsports; it's life in general. Yeah. You gotta listen to what people have to say, because I was taught by one old guy. He said you will find a lot of people in a workshop hanging out, and a lot of people will have an idea on how to do something, but then there was this one guy who doesn't know anything about mechanics that could say, you forgot that bolt. Right? So you got to listen to everybody.
Yeah, that's a good point. So you mentioned that you were also you went and did some support for rallies in America.
Yeah.
So this would have been when would this have been? Was this like early on when rallying was starting to pick up in America?
No, it was. I think Subaru already had their whole outfit going as well too, but it was just some local competitors. It wasn't like a massive team or whatever.
And those would have been Group N, or this weird American WRC thing that they ran?
It was Group N because I think I ended up selling one of them a Group N engine from Tommy Field. And Tommy and I went over to just commission it to the car, make sure it's fine.
Oh, nice. Okay.
And I think that engine's still running today, to be fair. So
nice.
It was just exposing them to a little bit of European ways of doing things and not really training them, but like just because you can't tell anybody how to run their own ship.
Yeah.
All you can do is see, okay, well, you could be a little bit more efficient here, a little bit more efficient there, and that's it.
Yeah.
So,
but at this stage, were you also were you running the car from, like, for lack of a better word, from like when you were doing this consulting? Sorry, I mean, were you dealing with more like, maintenance and engineering sides, or were you also helping with setup and all that sort of stuff?
It was a little bit of everything.
Okay.
Like I said, you can't pigeonhole yourself into just doing one thing. So I mean, there was one customer that I was doing data. The customer I was working on the wheel. Another customer I was like a number one on the car. But you're still giving your input to to make the car go forward quicker and to get the driver to be more comfortable.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Cool.
So you do that for 4 years, and then you find yourself going to friggin' Norway.
Right. Tell us how this came about.
Yeah, you go out with Tesla. How?
Yeah. So it started because of a girl, to be fair. So I was dating a Norwegian girl for a while.
Good stories often do start with that. So
yep. And then I also got kind of bored of, well, not bored, more frustrated with, having to wake up 4 o'clock every morning, check emails, get back to people, hustle to try and find jobs and work and stuff like that, maintain stuff and what's not. And I remember she telling me that they're looking for people at Tesla. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Quite interesting thing. So I remember speaking to a very good friend of mine named Andrew Baffert, who lives in Sweden. And he was a senior tech at Nissan with all the EV stuff.
Okay.
And I said, mate, they're hiring people in Norway and Sweden for Tesla. And he was like, okay, cool. Because he was looking to leave Nissan at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we ended up talking to one another, and then he applied and I applied. And he got through first.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember him telling me that they didn't know what to put him as, because he can't be a senior tech because he's too highly qualified, but he can't be a manager. So he ended up being the assistant manager of the dealership. And then in my interview, I remember the HR guy said, so I'm Andrew Baffert. And I was like, yeah, I know Andrew for years. And he said, how would you describe Andrew? And I gave him a description: a hard worker, good guy, honest, blah blah blah. He said, it seems like you all wrote this script because he said the same thing about you. So, and it was funny because apparently we were the only 2 Barbadians that were in Tesla at the point in time.
That's crazy.
So that is cool.
Yeah, so like the good thing about Tesla.
What you went there for?
Say again?
What was your job?
I just went for a technician job, to be fair.
Okay.
I ended up being like a battery technician, and then ended up being the assistant to a field support engineer and all sorts of stuff. So
this was a dealership, or I don't even know what they call it.
This was Oslo North in Norway.
Jesus, man.
How cold was it?
In
all fairness, right? Oslo isn't bad. When you step out of Oslo, that's when it gets bad.
Okay.
So what were you? How much? Like, what was it like getting like onboarded and starting to work on these cars? And
yeah,
I guess it's pretty easy compared to what you were working on before.
Not really. Like those cars are stupidly complicated.
Really?
Like, yeah, but they're complicated in a different way.
Right. More like software rather than hardware.
Yeah, but yeah, software and hardware. We had they paired me with a guy called Roman. Guy from Lithuania. This guy is possibly the smartest guy I've ever met in my life. Like, he speaks about 4 languages fluently.
Wow.
He knows that car in and out, up and down. And we used to get all the problems that people didn't want to fix. So that kind of catapulted me in a way. Like obviously as the troubleshooter and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then we would have we would go to training together as well too. So I think one of the first training that I did was the high voltage battery maintenance, which was like, like you could start me on this.
Yeah. What did that entail?
We at that point in time they had an issue with something called the contactors in the battery. So the contactors are what basically is like a switch in the battery. So that either isolates the battery or lets power flow out of it.
Right.
And sometimes they got stuck either open or they got stuck closed or they get stuck, period. So we had to replace them. And it was like, I remember the first video they showed us is what electricity can do to the body,
Oh, Christ.
and it
Really?
was basically a bunch of guys pushing like some scaffolding, and then they just like tightened up and started smoking. And it was at that point I looked at Roman, and Roman looked at me and said, like,
Fuck this.
Yeah.
yes, exactly. That's what was in our mind. Like, really? We left off slope of this. So yeah, so that was an eye-opening experience. But I mean, when you start doing them, it got to a point where it was, that you do like 5 or 6 a day, and it wouldn't be an issue.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just like the guys that fix the power lines. The first time they do it is going to be hard. But then, it's an everyday thing. You gotta go up this fucking power lane or whatever.
Yeah.
So
And then, but you can't seem to keep away from motorsport. So you managed to find yourself in some Swedish touring car while you were up there.
Yeah. The funny thing is, I did detest the thing because I was frustrated with motorsport. I was like, oh, I gotta work so hard. Or, I want a 9 till 5, blah blah blah. And then the boys at Norwegian Speed Factory, what are the names? The 2 brothers that ran Norwegian Speed Factory. I went to one of their courses, and then they were like, oh yeah, we got this guy. I started off doing some time attack in Sweden with a guy called Oscar Sandberg, who is a driving instructor. Well, he drives the GT4 class in the VLN in Germany.
Oh wow.
nice.
And so I started off with that. And then when I had quit Tesla, I was kind of in a little limbo. I didn't know what I wanted to do or whatever. And then the boys at Norwegian Speed Factory put me on to Jan Nielsen, who owns Flash Engineering.
Right.
And we started to do the Swedish Touring Car Championship with them, with a guy called Ruben Kressner and some other drivers as well.
What cars?
So it was it was a French chassis, but what the rules dictated is that you can put anybody on this chassis. So everybody had the same chassis, engine, gearbox, blah blah blah, everything.
Okay.
It was like a spec series, but you put your own body on it.
Okay.
And then you send that body to Solution F. That was the name of the company. So you send your body to them, and they equalize all of the aerodynamics. So the cars are equal.
Wow.
So despite the different body shapes, everything was as a level playing field.
Obviously, there was like plus or minus, a couple points or whatever.
Yeah.
But everybody had basically the same.
What kind of bodies were people running? Like Volvos and shit, or?
Yeah, the team, the Polestar, who does the whatchamacallit now?
Yeah, well, they were like Volvos, like AMG and M division. That was like Polestar was
correct,
like
exactly.
M is to BMW, Polestar is to
Correct.
Volvo, or was to Volvo.
Correct. So Polestar ran 3 cars, 3 Volvos. We ran 2 Saabs. Then there were a couple other body shapes, but it was mostly Saabs and Volvos and couple other.
Are these 6-cylinder naturally aspirated?
Yeah, there were V6 Nissan 350Z engine.
Oh, like EQ?
Yep.
HRs are they don't sound very nice.
Oh, they did sound nice to them. With them though.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Maybe it's just the ones that I hear all the time that sound like shit.
No. These ones were these were like properly built engines.
Okay, so like what sort of horsepower range are we talking?
I think they were like near 400 or 500 horsepower or something like that.
Okay.
Whoa.
So no slouches.
What sort of weight are we talking?
Ooh, I think it was something like 1,100 kilos or something like that.
Yeah, so they were quick.
They're quick, yeah.
Yeah, there were no slouches.
Yeah.
Right.
And I remember one race. We were racing at a horse track in Stockholm.
At a horse
track? So they paved over the horse track in 2 days.
Like an oval?
No, they made a track.
Right.
But you still did part of the oval.
Right.
So they paved over this track in like 2 days. So by the time we were packing up and we were driving back to base, they were digging the track up at that point in time. I was like, this is really cool.
What a shame though.
Yeah, but it's a horse racing track, so you can't keep it there.
So you just lay it down and dig it up. Waste of money, but hey,
I mean, if
you have to.
If you got any money,
yeah, I mean, well, you're bringing the race to the nation's capital, so
yeah.
Right, so there's no end of money right there.
Yeah,
that's sick though.
Was it a popular series?
Oh yeah, it still is popular now. I
Yeah.
mean, it went through so many different iterations. Like I have a photo of this guy Jan Nielsen's trophy wall. It's basically 4 trophy walls.
Wow.
All right, like probably 20 feet high and about 50 feet long. Like
Wow.
they did like old British super touring cars. Then the formula moved over to like World Touring Car. Then it was this Solution F for a while. No, it's TCR. And I think next year it will be ETCR.
Oh, they're going electric?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Seems
Like
easy.
full electric?
Like full electric, yeah.
Okay, like as in how we're so seriously shortened rate. How long were your races to start with?
You had 2, obviously practice qualifying, and I think 2 sprint races.
Okay.
So it depends on the length of the track. You know, like what, probably 45 minutes, 30 minutes to 45 minutes long for a race.
Okay.
Yeah.
But surely the electric won't be able to do that.
Nah, I don't think. Not in the state of what they have now. I don't think so.
I know,
but it would be exciting.
I know I'm probably jumping ahead a little bit, but obviously,
don't jump ahead yet. Where are you going? Go ahead. Go
well,
ahead.
I'm just going into Logic's thoughts on obviously motorsport is going in this hybrid electric area. What are your thoughts on it from a mechanical engineer's point of view? Do you think that this is the future? Is this good for motorsport? I'd just like to hear your thoughts on it.
Well, I think the philosophy behind it is using it for performance adding aspect, whereas the world is pushing it for a greener aspect.
Right.
So I think it's a good thing that because the more it develops in motorsport, the better it will become for the road. So in that case, I have no problem with it.
Okay.
Certainly, there's certain types of motorsport that, in my opinion, are perfect for electric. Rallycross is a great example. They're short. Current rallycross cars are unbelievably fast, and electric ones are even crazier. Yeah. And we're talking about like 5-7 laps. Like it's perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, you miss the noise of the rallycross cars because they sound incredible now.
Yeah.
When they're electric, it just sounds like a bunch of bees passing you at 120 miles an hour sideways.
Have you seen the Ford? You
need to see this thing. We'll talk about it when we get to extra. This thing that he's building, it was a Diff.
No, that was the entire gearbox.
This rallycross car.
Yeah.
It has like how much was it? Like 1,800 horsepower or some nonsense?
Yeah, and like 800 Newton meters of torque or something like that.
800 pound-foot of torque and 1,800 horsepower. 0 to 60 in 1.4 seconds. We can get to that. Get to that.
I can't wait to hear that.
But we can take a quick break, and when we come back from the break, we are going to pick up where you now find yourself joining Hyundai Motorsport on the WRC team. So give us 5 minutes, and we'll be right back. And we're back. That was probably like half a second for y'all watching, but we just took a little quick break. Logic had to go to the little girl's room.
That's
usually the bar first.
Yeah, I'm blaming it on him. It was really me.
Bladder controls.
But yeah, Hyundai.
Right. So, you left Tesla. You're working in the Swedish touring cars. How, obviously, a huge move next up for you. How did the move to Hyundai take place? Was it through networking? Tell us a little bit of the story. I think this is one of the questions that people are most wanting to hear of how this happened.
So I think it started like June 2016 when we went over to Hyundai, me and a friend of mine, because he wanted to buy one of their new R5 cars. And
you got a good friend.
Yeah. And so we just went over because I knew Andrew Johns from before. So I basically had nothing to do that Thursday. So I said, I'll come over with you. And I ended up seeing a lot of people that I knew, working there.
Okay.
And then they were like, you know what?
And this is in Germany, yeah?
Yeah. So I'm like, the guys are like, why don't you just apply? We put your name forward and see what happens. Okay, I applied, and I think 2 or 3 weeks after that, I got a call saying, yeah, we would like to invite you for an interview. I was like, huh? Yeah, we'd like to interview you.
You were still based in Sweden at the time, right?
Yeah, I was in Norway at the time in
Oh,
Oslo.
Norway, not Sweden. Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry, Norway.
So yeah, so I went over, did the interview, and that's when it really hit me. Okay, this is serious because one of the guys that interviewed me was a guy called Ernst Kopp, and Ernst is not only one of the biggest collectors of Toyota, the race cars, but he ran the workshop at Toyota from Le Mans into Formula One into WRC. Like
Wow.
he's a legend.
So he was
basically.
big in all Toyota Motorsport things.
Yeah, he I think he has one of 3 Toyota MR2 Group B cars.
They built
He
those?
has there's 3 of them.
Very
One is in Cologne, he has one, and then one is in the museum in Japan.
Holy shit. What's in it?
A Trias GTE turbocharged 4-wheel drive thing.
My God. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah, but I didn't notice either until he showed me
Holy
photos of it.
shit, that's insane.
And yeah, so he and the HR guy did the interview. I remember they telling me, okay, we'll get back to you or whatever. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I think it was an hour after I landed. I remember getting back into Oslo Central and opening my phone and saw an email from Hyundai. I was basically, they're going to say, well, thanks for your time, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
we'll
they
be in
started
touch.
off with, like, we would like to offer you. And I remember just like, I gotta find a bar.
Yeah.
I know that's a good feeling.
Holy
So,
shit, dude.
I remember, like going through all the. It was hard to get there as well too because my residency was running out in Oslo at the time, and you gotta apply for residency in Germany, but you need to apply for residency in the country that you live. So I had 3-4 weeks left, and I got sent all the paperwork, and I found out that the German consulate or embassy was just around the corner from my house. Took a stroll over there, and lady said, "No, you need to email us." I was like, "What do I need to email you? Just tell me what I need or whatever." And that took like 2 weeks to sort out.
Yeah.
And then I finally got an email back from them saying, "Yes, what would you like to do?"
Oh my God.
So I ended up
This WRC team, if you don't mind.
exactly right.
What would you like to do?
I would like my residency. That's what I would like.
Yeah.
So I remember calling the guy and saying, "Well, look, there's going to be a little bit of issue because these people are dragging the feet." And he said, I asked him, could I do it in London? So give me an hour and a half. I'll get back to you. So 2 hours later, he gets back to me. Yes, I think you can do it in London. I said, that's all I need to hear. I packed all my stuff, put it in storage, bought a ticket to London, got to London. I didn't have enough pages in my passport because you need 10 free pages in your passport.
Oh my God.
So I had to get my passport renewed. Got that renewed. Went to the consulate, the embassy now. First in line, straight through the door. Guy said, he said, "Yeah, we heard about this call. Let me go and just confirm it or whatever." Confirm. He came back. No, I saw him in the office talking and kind of animated or whatever. I was like, "Yeah, this ain't happening."
Oh,
so he came back and he said, "I'm sorry, Mr. Yearwood, but you need to do it in your country residency, which is Barbados."
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Last minute ticket to Barbados. Get to Barbados, gone down by the German consulate, which is basically a room in a building in Harts Gap.
I was gonna say I didn't even know we had one of them here.
Right.
Even
with
know.
one lady inside of it, right? And she said, "No, you can't do it here. You need to do it in Trinidad." So,
oh my God.
last minute ticket to Trinidad. Got to Trinidad. I stayed by Wayne Prasad. He drove me to the embassy. Got in. It took a grand total of 15 minutes and €75.
You lie.
Again, in there, I had all my paperwork. The guy in the UK said, "I'm very sorry, but you're one of the only people that have all your paperwork right then and there." And it would have been an easy process. Anyhow, fingerprints, everything, €75. Goodbye. We'll get back to you. Okay.
Oh my
Flew
God.
back to Barbados the next day. And the lady at the consulate called me and said, "You need to bring some money and your passport. And you need to book a flight to Germany. And you need to buy insurance." So
What?
when do I need to because they need an entry date for
Oh,
you entering the journal,
okay.
right? So I was like, let me call you back. I called the guy, the HR guy, and he said, yeah, you could start this date. I said, okay, I'll be there 2 days before, blah blah blah. Get there, bought a ticket, bought the health insurance, the travel insurance, sorry. Paid the money, sent my passport. 2 days later, passport came back. I got a border flight. Went to the UK. UK. I went to flew into Gatwick. Gatwick to Stansted. Stansted to Frankfurt Hahn, which was the wrong airport, by the way. Then I had to take a bus for like an hour and a half, right? To Frankfurt. And then 2 trains, 45 minutes to Arsenal. And when I got there, I was so damn tired.
Yeah.
Right. And had the whole induction and meeting people and seeing stuff. Because when it came on, we were still doing the development for the 2017 car.
And they brought
so
you on, and you were coming on in what position or capacity now?
Well, I had applied to be one of the race technicians, but I ended up being put into transmission.
Right.
So, yeah, so I ended up in the transmission department, and it was really cool because we were still working because we were doing rebuilds for the old WRC cars that were still marketing cars, and a couple customers that have bought them out in Italy as well too. So
these are
you get
15, 16 cars.
No, 14 and 15 cars.
Okay.
So and so I got to learn everything from those gearboxes up until the new ones.
Right.
And it was an experience because some of the people working there were in motorsport for the better part of 40 years.
Jesus.
And I remember there was a guy called Bruno, and Bruno could fix it. I told him one day you could weld plastic to water because this man could fix anything. All right. There's nothing that's unfixable for Bruno. All right. And one guy, I think it was Ernst that told me that Bruno was on every major German race team there was. No, I didn't know that Germany was so deep into motorsport until working there. Like they have their own like how we have like Roger Skeet and Paul Bourne and them boys. They have their own ecosystem of teams and rally and drivers and stuff over there, and it's so interesting to see that. So and then they started, and then they started showing me photos of him working for Zach Speed on the Capris and the Escorts and all up into DTM and Formula One. Like half the office was ex-Formula One.
That's crazy.
My boss, he works at Toyota and Marisha as well too.
Wow.
Most of sub-assembly was Audi Team Yost.
Wow.
And then when I left, more people from Team Yost came on, in the hydraulics department. One guy was in the transmission department with me, and he now left, and he's the number one for the new Porsche LMDH car.
Wow.
So, and like even the older boys now, like Parry and Tony and them boys, like there's a video of the guys changing like an old gearbox in an Audi on the side of the road in Saudi Arabia or one of those Arabic countries, right? Tony Graysdale was one of those guys, and I used to work with that guy. I'm like, you sit and you listen to these boys talk about like Sean Garner, who does the recce cars for Hyundai still. Sean has worked at possibly every motorsport team there is in Europe, and you see photos of him in the Safari years back and all sorts of stuff. And it's really interesting to see and work with these guys and hear their stories and listen to the advice that they have for you, because I'm still young compared to them boys. So when they talk, you listen and, you pick up what you can from them. So it was really interesting and really nice to work with these guys. Like even the guy who's one of my good friends now, Ollie, Belgian guy, did most of the Belgian championship, worked at Citroen for years, and now he's the responsible guy for most of the WRC cars because he was the number one on the test team for years. Like, learned a lot just being around this guy, and just like I remember the first time I met him Like Ollie's one of these sort of guys. He's hard, but he's fair.
Mhm.
Right. Ollie would not say nothing to me in the workshop. You know, you feel sorry, like, but you did one test with him, all right? And he would come, he would talk to me like before I left. You know, we would always hang out together because we were doing the Rally 2 development together as well too.
Mhm.
And you know, we were really good friends. You know, so it's cool to have friends that did all this stuff like that. It's like you can call and say, what you would do in this situation, or this is happening, or
Mhm.
So
Of
Yeah.
course.
What was the? So I mean, obviously, this is very much, I can imagine, dream come true for you. I mean, to be part of a proper full WRC team now. What was the first rally that you went on with the team? Or
Rally
like,
Poland.
as soon as you started, were you like actively out on rallies, or did you have time at the factory before you were out on rallies?
I had a little bit of time, well, a lot of time before the rallies, but I was doing tests before. So I started. My first test was Monty pre-event.
That was the first test ever that you went on with them.
Yep.
Nice.
Who was the drivers?
I was with the Rally 2 car, but we were with the WRC side and side, so we were sharing the test road. So
Right.
we were with Kevin Nabring, and it was Sordo, Neuville, and Patton
Wow.
as well too. So I remember the first time I saw Neuville walk into the test truck. He said, "You're the guy from Barbados," and I was like,
Yes.
"Uh-huh."
Starstruck.
For sure.
Yeah. You know, these are guys that you see on TV.
Yeah.
You know, like to see them in person and they're actually directing their speech towards you is something totally different. So,
Monty's a good one to kick off on, though.
Oh yeah.
I mean, Jesus.
Yeah.
I mean,
what's your favorite? Which I know you've been to a lot of different rallies. Well, what I know all. Which ones stick out for you as the most memorable? One either to work at or to spectate?
To spectate, I would say Sweden. To spectate,
That's
because
crazy, right?
yeah, you don't notice the speed of these cars until you're right there, and then seeing them pass you at that speed.
It's so funny. I just watched a video of Lando Norris reacting to rally, and then Sweden is a lot of it. And the people are the speeds are insane. Huh?
Yeah,
like
it's madness. Sweden, I think, Sweden is one of the highest average speed rallies, if not the highest average speed rally on the calendar for WRC.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be. It really shouldn't be in the grand scheme of things.
I tell you, I mean, every time I've watched videos of, in particular with these current hybrid cars, I just don't get it.
Well, I don't know how they change direction so well. Like and they're going sideways. Yeah, the rotation is insane.
You know, in fairness, I've sat with a couple of them, and they still don't know how to do it, and I saw them do it in front of me. And it's not the speed that really gets you; it's the braking ability of these cars.
Yeah.
And you know, you sat in the car and they're doing their thing, and you come into a corner and you looking at the corner, and you're just looking over at his foot is still on the footrest. Right?
Yeah, like you even move the brakes. Yeah.
Correct. And you know you would have braked about 40 miles back, right? And he's still heading towards this corner, right? Like the braking ability of the cars, for me, I would say, and the grip that you can get out of them. Because what they would class as no grip is a lot of grip for a lot of other people.
Right.
Because they know what they are capable of doing and what the cars and the tires and the suspension are capable of doing. But they can't extract it because of probably one or two things or whatever.
Wow, it's crazy, isn't it?
And your personal favorite rally?
Portugal.
Why?
Food, sunny, other things. Huh?
Isn't the rally itself pretty rough?
Yeah, it's rough, but I mean, when you start to go up into Aganil and stuff, and those places just outside of Porto, and you see like the views, and
it's stunning.
Is amazing. Like I remember we did a test in Arganil, and the spot where we were was actually the Arganil stage. So even to this day, like the other day I was watching it, I think it was with my son, and it was like, oh yeah, we tested right here. We were right here, and then the car did that. And there's like 4 different areas that you can test. The only move that we did was move the truck from one side of the road to the other side of the road.
Yeah.
And we spent 3 days there testing.
When you guys are at testing, like in either leading into a rally or just dealing with development or whatever it is, and like what kind of, I don't know what you can share, so just with whatever you're able to tell us, like I've always been interested to know like what kind of things, like what sort of feedback the engineers or the drivers are looking for, like what kind of changes are, I guess it would depend on what you're testing for, but like what sort of things happen at like on like a technical level at these things.
Everything from tires, tire compounds, springs, dampers, specs, diff specs, and then also like trying to set up the car for the second pass as well too. So it also depends on if the rally is what we call a linked rally. So to cut costs, what the FIA did, you have to link your transmissions to sometimes 2 or 3 rallies or 3 or 4 rallies or whatever.
What do you mean?
Like they have to be able to run?
They can't open them.
Oh, okay. So you can't
change. You can change the oil. You can put a camera inside. So
right.
We don't change gearing because we have 2 different types of gearing. We have gravel and we have tarmac. That's it.
It's just 2.
Yeah. So the diff settings now is what is more important. Because that changes the balance of the car as well too, like diff balance of the car. So let's just say
what kind of things are they changing there? I know whatever. People always, I don't care. People don't want to hear these nerdy details. I do.
So well, in the diffs, you have something called ramp angles. So these angles determine how the diff locks and the characteristics. And then further to that, you have what we call friction faces. So you can go 8+8, 6+6, or 4+4. 8+8 means that when the ramp is open, basically, both wheels spin at the same speed.
Okay.
6+6 gives you a little bit of wheel speed difference between the
inside
axle
and outside or whatever.
Correct. Yeah. So you would tend to see some drivers like a 6+6 in the front and an 8+8 in the rear, just to get it either to turn in properly or to get him to feel a little bit neutrality with the car. And then you have preloads that on the diff now that do either slow or speed up the locking rates of the diffs as well too. So like these things, all of these things happen while you're doing damper and springs and maybe some alignment stuff if you're running like different kinematics on the car as well too.
Okay.
So
and these things, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
A test day basically starts possibly. Depends on where you are. Sometimes it could be a 5 o'clock leave or 6 o'clock leave from the hotel. You set at your test base if you don't have to move it every night. So generally by 7:30, 8 o'clock, you're ready to start the test, and that it normally finishes around 6 in the evening normally. But sometimes if you have daylight and is a road that is not really used by people, you may be able to do 2 or 3 more runs or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's long, hard days.
And this stuff is going to be like all as the day goes on, and you guys spend more time behind the wheel. Is the feedback and changes going to be made from like a blend of driver feedback plus like car data, or is it all kind of like whatever the driver is saying? I need the car to rotate more, do something.
Yeah, it's a mixture of both. So you have to come to a compromise. And you have to be able to speak to an engineer as a driver, like it's doing this or it's doing that, or when is it doing? Is it entry, mid, or exit? And what is it doing in those 3 phases? And any problem you have with the car, if you feel a little funny vibration, like sometimes we were even checking different disc pads, how the initial bite is on pads and how aggressive it is and stuff like that. So there's lots of things that you have to be as a driver to relay to your engineer, and then as the engineer you have to basically take that, decipher it, and then basically in your mind overlay it with data,
right?
Because data never lies.
Yeah.
And then say, okay, we can go in this direction, and then basically at the end of the test and the debrief, that's when the driver picks his setup for the rally or whatever, and then that is transferred back to base, and then it's built up at base.
Right. Okay.
Because the test is normally like the week before the rally. Then we have a rollout, and then the cars still need to get to the rally. So the test is very important to get the information as soon as possible, so that all the units can be built up for the rally as well too.
Makes sense. How many of you are there in a technical team at a rally for Hyundai? How many people in total?
Like per
So
car.
Yeah, per car.
So normally there's 5 people per car.
Okay.
So 4 mechanics and a number 1.
I think number 1 work on the car himself, or he was still also working.
Yeah, he would do things with the car as well too.
Okay.
So you can only touch the car if you have one of the armbands on.
Right.
Yeah. So that's a big thing. You can't forget that.
And
then you have.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead. Finish. Logic.
Then you have one guy from transmission, one guy from subassembly, which deals with all the suspension. Then you have an electric guy. You may or may not have a guy from hydraulics. And then you have, I think, is 2 or 3 engine guys. 3 performance engineers, 3 data engineers, team manager, weather crew, weather person.
That's crazy.
What
a setup.
Then there's team manager, team principal, logistics guy, who normally doubles as the team manager as well too.
Right.
Then you got physios.
Jesus.
You have catering. You have PR. Yeah. PR is normally like 3 to 6 people. You got film crew, camera people, photographers,
big setup,
marketing. Yeah, it's a fairly big setup to move around.
Hire any more Bajans?
Play and see. You never know.
But I mean, yeah, obviously stepping on to, you've just listed off a huge amount of people. And I mean, I think certainly if you're into motorsport, you've seen it on WRC TV and stuff like that. Like you've seen all the, as a fan, like you see the amount of people that are involved on the cars. But as a man who's physically been there working on them, I think the only closest point of reference that we have here would be Rally Barbados, and we see how stressful that can be for some of our crews. But like, what's it like? What's the environment like at a world rally round?
Yeah. It depends on if everything is going well or not, to be fair.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think one thing.
Yeah, like what if somebody, on shakedown has a friggin' shunt Rosie car, and then y'all are like, oh shit, here we go. Y'all just buckle down and get to work.
Yeah, that's what the foreman is there to do. He's there to delegate who does what. So the first part is to assess what's wrong with the car.
Right. And so it comes back in, and is that like a single person's job? Like they just start to run over everything and decide what to fix?
Normally the number 1 and 2 mechanics would go. The engineer and possibly the foreman would be there to assess the car. Second thing is, once you assess the car, what do we need? So we got the composites guy. He's always there. So and then the team, the crew would start to get their body, if it needs body panels, this, that, and next, and the third, they would get everything together.
Right.
If it needs a drive shaft or gearbox or whatever, then I will go and pick up what I need and have it close by. And everything that comes off the car, you wash and you look at, you make sure everything's fine. Normally the FIA comes and they inspect the roll cage to give you the okay or not. If it's part of the roll cage that can be cut out and rewelded or whatever, then they give you the go ahead to do that, because
they'll do that in the rally.
Yep.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
If it happens under rally circumstances, part firme, and then you have 3 hours to get the car ready.
Wow, that's pressure.
So what can you do? What's possible in 3 hours?
Don't change the body shell. Don't change the engine. Everything else could be changed.
Wow. So an engine can be changed within 3 hours?
No, you can change the engine, but it is not allowed in the rule set.
Oh, no, sorry. Right, sorry. No, my question was, what could you all physically do or theoretically do in 3 hours?
Anything.
Right. So you could, in theory, rebuild an entire car in 3 hours.
If you were allowed to, yeah.
If you were allowed to.
If you were allowed to, yeah. I mean, it may not look the prettiest.
Yeah.
But it'll be mechanically sound.
Cool.
What's a gearbox change average time?
I think the boys got it down to 10 minutes.
That's insane.
That's nuts.
Gearbox in 10 minutes.
because the boys changed one. They changed one in the 15-minute service in Monte Carlo last year in 10 minutes.
Now, are these current cars a bit easier than previous ones with all the paddle shift and hydraulic setup? It makes no difference.
Nah, it doesn't really make a difference. It's just basically how the car's laid out. Do you mean in what to work on?
Well, no, I just more so meant. Well, I mean, okay, the hybrid brings its own layer of complexity, but let's go to previous year before hybrid came in. You know, obviously there was a point in time where hydraulics played a bit bigger of a role than I think they do now in the cars before, like in other words, the cars that just before the hybrid ones.
Yeah.
Compared to the S12 that has full, you know, there is no.
Oh yeah, they were complicated, but so for Subaru, most of the hydraulics was on the transmission side. So you change the transmission, you change the hydraulics on it. So,
right.
So that's not an issue. For the 2017 until last year, we had a hydraulic block which controlled everything.
Mm-hmm.
So if something's wrong with the block, you change the block. And that's it. And the block was quite easy to change anyhow. So
Logic, what obviously you're not doing that right now. We'll get to that. But what's your favorite memory of being with Hyundai? You got anything in particular of anything that sticks out in your mind as
I got so many of those.
The ones you can share with the general public, just remember that.
But that's the problem. There are not much of them. I think one of the greatest memories is when the company took us to Korea and seeing where everything
headquarters.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Hyundai is massive. Yeah. We spent a week in Korea. So the first night we went downtown Seoul and saw it. It was amazing. It is an experience, right? The food is amazing in Korea as well too. They do some good fried chicken. I could tell you that for sure.
You know what's so funny? I'm watching a Netflix show now called Somebody Feed Phil. Anyway, and this guy Phil was the producer of Everybody Loves Raymond. Right. Anyway, and I just finished watching the episode of him in Korea, and one of the places he went was some Korean fried chicken place, and this shit
amazing.
So legit. Dude.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
When I tell you amazing.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so we had this whole big reception and stuff. And the next day they said, we'll take you around. So you had places that you can pick. So you could go to the tallest building in Korea. Not Korea, in Seoul.
Hold on one sec. Hold on. Huh? Oh, sorry. All right. Sorry. We have to reset the camera every half an hour.
Okay.
So we're good now. So carry on.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So you had options of where you wanted to go. You could go to like this downtown market, or you could go to like the old castle palace in downtown Seoul, because they have the palace still in Korea, in Seoul, sorry. Or you could go to like the tallest building or whatever. And I think I went to the downtown market and the palace, which was really, really cool. And then they showed us like the Hyundai Museum, which was like I think the second Hyundai museum that they built, because the other one got kind of outdated. And this place is amazing. I didn't know that they made like Hyundai semi trucks. Yeah. I didn't know that. Yeah. Buses, car, like everything. Like Hyundai started with building ships. Whoa. And then it was metals as well too. And then I think somebody got bored and said, let me go and make some cars and see what they know. Right. So and then they got better and better at it. And we went to the Namyang facility, which possibly is the size of Barbados. There's a bus network around this place.
Jesus.
That's how big it is, right? There's a couple of test tracks. There's like 4 wind tunnels. There's like 6 crash test areas. We saw a crash test live as well. It's violent.
Is it?
And then we saw one of our TCR cars parked in the back catching dust when it went for the initial wind tunnel testing and stuff like that.
No.
And we were ferried into this one area where they were going to do like a presentation, and we saw like the WRC suspension on a table, and we were like, hang on, that's off of last year's car. And one guy said, you're not allowed to see that. Let's come this way. And we were like, okay, cool.
Dude, we've put like 20 of these on 4 different cars.
Exactly. And like, it was so funny because like when we were at the museum as well too.
Wait, so this man didn't know who y'all were?
But that's what I'm getting to now, right?
Oh,
So
okay.
we were at the museum, and one of the guys' toolboxes was in the WRC museum. Like Shaba's toolboxes was there. He's from Hungary, and he was like, "Ah, that's my toolbox." And then like we saw a whole picture of everyone rally Poland, and the girl started to freak out because she noticed me. I'm kind of different to everybody else. But she noticed me, and then she started to pick
No
up.
one else have a beard? Was that the difference?
I think that was it. Yeah, the
Yeah.
facial hair. Yeah, and like she started to like tears started to come down her eye because she said she did not believe that the actual people you see on the pictures would be coming. They thought it was just like executives from Hyundai Germany, Hyundai Germany and Hyundai Europe. They didn't expect the actual people,
Yeah.
and it was kind of a weird feeling because we came second that year.
Yeah.
We had a chance to win it in Australia, and we came second. And they were so happy that we came second, and like we are actually pissed off, like really pissed off that we came second. But they were so elated and so happy. And then like the next, I think we spent 3 days in Seoul, and then we flew to an island called Jeju Island, just south of Korea,
Mm-hmm.
in a hotel that Hyundai owns, which is massive and amazing. And we had like some traditional things where we can go and like climb this mountain. I got halfway up, and it was like,
Nah, that's not for me.
correct. I would say that was one of my most memorable PG. Things.
We've heard a few of the other ones.
Yeah.
So we'll keep those to ourselves. But before jump into where you're at now, because obviously in 2022, earlier this year, you left Hyundai and now you're at X-Track. Which is what I think we want to get to eventually. But before that, I want to just touch on Rally Barbados this year because you were, I guess, it was nice to have you back here home for it. I don't know whether that was your intention to start with or whether it was influence on the Rally Club to come and be what did they refer to him as? You were the...
Oh, God. Oh, here we go.
Were you the local expert?
Apparently, I was, yeah.
Right.
I was coined as the local expert.
Yeah, the local expert. But yeah, so just we just recorded earlier this week a podcast with a few of the R5 guys, and James and I just did a quick chat about Rally Barbados this year in general. But we'd love to hear your thoughts just overall on King of the Hill Rally Barbados and what you thought this year was like.
In all fairness, Rally Barbados forever was always a good event. Like it was always something that like I would always try to come home for as well too, even when though I was overseas. But normally it clashes with either Sardinia or Portugal. But I would always try to come home to because it's where it came from. That's what made me who I am today. Working at that event and what's not.
Yeah.
And I know Bex for a while, and we were always bouncing around the idea of now that I'm doing it, it would be cool to have you come over or whatever. It was like, yeah. And then they spoke to Neil about it, and I expressed some interest about it. And Neil was like, let's do this. And I was like, hang on a minute. I didn't expect it to happen that fast, but it was an experience, like doing something totally different, totally out of my comfort zone or whatever. But the event was very, very well ran. And I like the format now where you do these 3 stages backwards, but you just keep those 3 stages.
I kind of like
you cut down people doing stupidness on the road as well, too. And you cut down people hindering the rally cars getting where they're supposed to be at a certain time. So that's a really good step forward. And every year, Rally Barbados outdoes themselves. They evolve, and that's one thing about me. I need to keep moving. I need to keep going forward, and Rally Barbados is doing that as well too, which is one of the best things that you could ever hope for, and it's only going to get bigger and better. Like I remember working with Craig Breen, who is co-driven by Paul Nagel, and Paul keeps telling Craig about it. Like Newville wants to do it as well too. Mickelson was asking me about it.
Yeah.
Bring a big R5s and come.
Well, Mickelson could.
Yeah.
Sure.
And I mean, it's known out there, but
Yeah.
it's just that sometimes it clashes with other events or whatever. But you would be surprised at how many people know about Rally Barbados in Europe.
Man, well, well, obviously we've been blessed with some big names already. Like the likes of Cumberbatch came, and obviously Chris Meek is coming past. Didier Oriol. I can never pronounce his name properly. Didier. I see last name I have trouble with.
Yeah.
But it would be sick to see
Elfyn.
some of those. Yeah, Elfyn Evans came in an early R5, which he friggin' wrung its neck for 2 days. Poor thing. I would like to see him in one of the more modern ones now.
For sure.
But yeah, what do you think? You gonna try and get some influence on these guys and let them bring an R5 and come down, or what?
Well, like I said, the seed is there. They're very interested in doing it. Yeah, and I would love to see it as well too. Believe me, I would make time to come home for that.
Yeah, you got
that. It's just on what these guys are doing and what the club can offer and what they can offer the club as well too. Yeah. More so what they could offer the club.
Yeah,
because you got to deal with, it doesn't make sense bringing somebody here that doesn't add anything to it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, well, I think all of them would.
Oh, you're kidding me? Imagine.
They'll be down for it. I know 2 people that are sponsored by Monster that are very interested.
Okay.
So we'll see how that works out.
I've just connected those dots. I won't call any names, but I've just connected those dots. Man, well, that would be sick, dude, to see somebody of that caliber. I mean, nothing against our local drivers, obviously, but these are proper people.
Yeah, but we want to increase the awareness of the event, and it just solidifies it even more.
Definitely. What did you think of Zane's performance up until he hit a pole?
Regardless of if he hit 4 poles, that was a top class, very measured drive for first time doing a rally.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's all fun and games to do a sprint, but to have somebody talking in your ears and you have to take what they're telling you and apply it to your driving.
Yeah,
it's very, very good. It's top. Like I have nothing but praise for what he did, because it's not easy. Rallying is not easy, and double with the fact you got to deal with heat. Then you got to deal with something might happen to the car, and then near misses, and keeping your head cool and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
It's up there one of the hardest things you have to do. So but very measured drive, very, very good. And I think if he does it next year, we got some problem. The other guys got some problems on their hands. So.
Yeah, I think so too. It's clear that he has the outright pace. I mean, the other one that had it on real pace was Frank Bird.
But just a lot of little mishaps and stuff.
Yeah, he had some mishaps, but on Sunday when he was on, Lord of mercy, he was on.
His pace was insane.
Yep. I remember watching his first time in King of the Hill, and it was just watching my phone. It was like,
oh, okay.
What?
Yeah.
Huh? So
it's wild.
Saying that, you also got to big up Stuart Maloney.
Yeah.
Stuart might not like me for saying this, but for an older guy keeping up with Zane, and Frank Bird and them boys
passing that car. I mean, he really is. I mean, you see it even with Dane, who's obviously very, he's up to speed in that S12 now. And
he drove phenomenally.
He drove a great rally and 100%.
Oh yeah, Dane is so mature in his driving.
Yeah,
like he knows when, where, he knows how to talk to you after it. He knows this, that, next thing, third, it's doing this, blah blah blah. Like he's very measured in what he does. He chooses his words carefully, and he has the talent to back it up.
Yeah, definitely.
So, like that, like we have some young up and coming guys, like even like Catwell, the little guy in the Sherman.
Yeah.
Right. That little kid is quick. Right. So we got some young talent coming up in the ranks in Barbados that hopefully they could get a little shine on them, to get further.
Yeah, for sure.
Let me ask you this question, Logic. I don't know if we asked you this off camera once. If there were, let's say, Thierry or Soto or whoever came down here, do you think in an R5, do you think it would be close? Do you think that the time, I'm just curious about the skill level of the guys in the WRC, of how fast they really are? Because like we see it on TV and it doesn't look like, but actually being in the team and seeing these guys, what's the
there's a big difference in that level, and I don't think our guys are going to put it on the line like how those guys would put it on the line.
right?
Like the thing with Thierry is right. Thierry is is a machine, right? He could have an off in this stage, right? The car will still be drivable, and in the next stage, he's going to drive like he hasn't crashed.
And just
Period.
that stuff doesn't phase them.
No, that's a difference in these guys. Like it's totally different. Okay, I put it as people who like to drive versus people who are paid to drive.
Yeah.
Well, I think a little bit of not mine syndrome starts to play into it as well, right? Like, these guys down here own their cars, whereas, sort of, and then to a lesser extent don't, or Newville or whoever.
Yeah, they're going to step out of it and just chill.
Yeah,
whereas
and
the other guys
nine people are going to jump on it and fix it, and they're going to get back in and,
correct. Yeah, but
shit
saying that, you can only get that out of one of those drivers if they have the team behind it as well too.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So
the answer to James's question was what?
In all fairness, I would love to say that the boys would be competitive, and I would love it to happen. I would love them to prove me wrong, but I don't think they're going to see where them boys go. But it's chalk and cheese.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, they're at the end of the day, what we have as committed and as talented as the guys are, ultimately they're amateurs, and these guys, Newville and them,
they do this for a living. Yeah,
they probably spend more time in rally cars than our guys spend in any car for a whole entire year.
Like, I remember there was a time Sordo did a local rally against some fairly quick guys as well too in an old R5 Hyundai, right?
You mean in Spain?
In Spain, right? I was putting like 20 and 30 seconds in these guys and doing donuts and all sorts of stuff, right?
Was he racing other WRC cars?
Other R5s.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, like, are you going to take this seriously?
Yeah, they really just have a different level, don't they?
Yeah, it's a different level, different mindset of doing things. And I love to see it. Don't get me wrong. I love to come home to Barbados and see the boys push as hard as they can.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'd be watching videos and I'd be like, you like from seeing what I've seen and stuff, or you leave a lot of time on the table here and there and blah blah blah. So and the good thing is about these R5 cars, this is you need to drive them. All right. It doesn't matter. Yes, obviously a newer car would be better, but look at Josh Reed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You look at any championship that's happening right now. Newer car does not automatically mean better car.
Yeah.
So look at the Donegal the other day. Josh Moffitt won in an old Hyundai R5. Second in championship.
Yeah.
The first 2 or 3 rallies in the Irish Tarmac Championship, he won outright against the WRC cars and newer like the Polos and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So newer does not automatically mean better. It's basically you get a hot shoe behind any one of those cars, he would be quick.
Yeah,
and that Josh has proven that.
Yeah, definitely.
Granted, it was with the demise of Stuart and Zane.
Yeah,
but Josh was consistent, and Josh is not stupid. He would drive that car measured until he has the grasp of that car, and then he would start to show you things.
Yeah.
True.
For sure.
Cool.
All right, let's talk X-Track quickly. Yeah, we're gonna just talk about X-Track, and then we'll let you go because you've already been more than generous with your Saturday.
No, that's fine.
So yeah, all right. So you leave Hyundai, and now you're at X-Track. How long have you been there?
I've been there. I think my first day on the job was April 4th this year.
Oh wow! And for those and for those that don't, and for those who might not know, you want to just give a brief explanation as to what X-Track is?
X-Track provides, I would say, transmission solutions to basically every motorsport genre there is and has ever been in. So they kind of know what they're doing. And from working with them, like I'm in awe sometimes, like how simple some fixes are in some new products, and how structured it is as well too. Because it's very well structured and very well put together as well. So
And again, you're working on they're
Transmission.
just transmissions, yeah. So
Yeah,
are
just
you working
transmissions.
on like specific? I don't know what you can and can't share. So if you can't share, just tell us that. But are you working on any like particular motorsport sector right now?
No, I'm kind of doing some of everything at this moment. So, I started off doing touring car stuff, which was like,
Oh, is that why?
I mean, like it's a very simple gearbox, but
Okay.
also is also a pain in the backside.
Okay. Why?
But it's like there's so many little finicky little things. Like
Oh,
okay, and I was telling the guys there as well too. When we get these transmissions, we don't really I'd say respect, but we don't understand how much time goes into one of these, the finished product.
mhm.
Whereas we would just strip it, replace like what gear, blah blah blah, or changing the settings or whatever. But there's so much more that goes on behind the scenes. Like when you get like a gearbox casing, it's just a casing. There's nothing inside of it. And you need to populate that with things.
Mhm.
But not only populate it with things, don't scratch anything inside of it either.
Yeah.
So so when you get a brand new gearbox, if you open a brand new gearbox and you see like somebody's been fiddling to get like a circlip in, and it scratches your casing, it's like, what's this?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, there's just a lot of little fiddly things in the touring car ones that you're just like, oh, I'm just so over it.
You
Fair
sent me a picture of a what the hell is the name of this thing? I have it up here on my phone of this electric rallycross car that is called.
Nitro.
Well, no, it's competing in the Nitro Rallycross Championship or whatever it's called, but this FC1-X.
Yeah.
This 1,055 horsepower, 800 pound-feet of torque electric rallycross car. And you get to work on a piece of something for that. I guess a transmission. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
How does transmission work in an electric car?
It's just like 3 gears inside of it. It's not like a gearbox where you shift through gears. It's either you're on throttle and going forward or you're not. So
Oh, right. But what? But if there's 3 watt, then it just like automates itself through them?
no, there's no shifting of gears.
Constant.
It's just one constant gear.
Dude,
So you slap an electric motor on the side of it. It's like a Tesla. Tesla only has one gear. That's
no,
going
I
forward.
get it. But right.
Yeah.
Okay. I follow you. I got you covered.
Yeah. So basically, the good thing about that is that obviously you're limited with the final drive for top speed, but an electric motor gives you so much torque that you could put almost any gearing inside of it,
Yeah.
and it will pull through it.
Yeah.
So that's one. I mean, like the design of that is so amazing as well too.
Yeah.
Like you see like the insides of certain things, and you're like, how the hell does that work? And more importantly, why does it work?
Yeah.
Because sometimes you're just like, this shouldn't be work. This shouldn't be how it is.
Yeah.
Is it really supposed to be like this?
I mean, you must feel pretty blessed, man. Like you've had such a journey, like to be able to come from, getting kicked out of fourth form for stopping down. And now, you've passed through, lots of high-end motorsport. You've worked with the likes of Tesla, Hyundai, and now you're working at one of the top transmission companies in the world that supply motorsports.
Yeah.
You must feel pretty blessed, man.
Yeah, every day I kind of think, nah, this can't be my life. Like, you sit in Barbados, you're drinking rum, you think that this is your life,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's I feel very blessed. I did work very hard to get where I am, and I will always tell people, don't ever underestimate the power of working hard, because it may not seem like it's working right now, but at some point in time, it got to work.
Yeah.
And there's many times I thought I was going to give up. Like, I mean, when I was running that consulting business, I was like, yeah, I should go back to Barbados and see what I can do or whatever. But then you get a call from a customer, oh yeah, I need you, blah, blah, blah. And then you go and do a great job. And then you're like, nah, I can't do that. Just keep pushing on. So, like I said, the best thing that you could always do in this situation is just keep pushing on. But be smart about what you do. Because there's some points in time that you need to cut your losses. And I've made many mistakes in my life. Like, I've made mistakes where I screwed up potential job offerings. where I've not been in the right frame of mind, not frame of mind, but the right light in certain people's eyes and stuff like that. And all of that has gotten me to where I am today.
Yeah.
So you just gotta learn from everything. Everything is an experience. Everything you do is always an experience, and treat it as such.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, dude, I mean, I think that's a good note to end on there. As I said, you've been more than generous with your Saturday.
Yeah, I certainly appreciate the time, Logic. It was fascinating learning about your history and all the things you've gotten to do, which we're not no one's really close to here. So your insight has been pretty amazing.
For sure. And
thank you for having me.
Oh man, pleasure, it's been a pleasure. And yeah, hopefully we can, maybe next time you're down here, we can do another one of these in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe you could give us some tips on how to be a good media personality.
Yeah.
I actually got somebody that I could put you in contact with to do that. So, and he loves Barbados as well too.
That works.
So,
perfect. Well, listen, buddy, thanks again, man. And yeah, we'll keep in touch, man.
Thanks,
sure.
Logic.
Thanks, man.
Good man.
Thanks, man.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.